and welcome to Hilton Head RV and Marina. Hilton Head Marina and RV Park? Hilton Head RV Park and Marina. I believe that's it. Third time's the charm. Anyway, if anybody has watched our last video, I had a tremendous time and a really big scare unhitching and setting up my trailer. So much so that I realized the importance of having a list. I scoured the internet and I found a list which I think is going to assist me in not making those mistakes again. If I follow this order of things, I should safely unhitch my trailer, set it up without having that same scare and fear that I had in the last video. So here is the list. And I have multiple lists here. There's one for setting up the camp, unhitching, inside the trailer, hitching back up the trailer, and then checking the tires and cleaning up after yourself, and of course tire maintenance. I found this online. I can't remember where I found it, but when I read it, I said this sounds perfect and the steps are exactly what I need to safely unhitch my trailer from my truck. So the first thing it says to do is level side to side. And what I did is I actually printed these out and laminated them so they're protected, and I put them on this lanyard. Only the mistake that I made was I should have put the hole on this side so I could lift it up and read it, because now the lanyard's like this and it doesn't really work out, so I don't know. It's a design flaw that I'm behind. So anyway, the first thing it says to do on this list is level side to side, the very first thing we should do. So I'm going to get my level, which I hold in the underbelly. Very easy, very inexpensive, a level. Side to side. Now fortunately for me, this site is very level, so there's nothing for me to do side to side. I usually check it in a couple places, just to be sure that the front and the back are the same level. And from what I can tell, it's very level. So there's nothing to do side to side. The very next thing on the list is chalk the wheels. In my last video, I received a couple comments, and I agree. One of the things I had was these plastic yellow chalks. Very slippery. They didn't wedge under there very well. They didn't have good traction. They didn't stay underneath the trailer the way they're intended. So I went out and purchased new chalks. Heavy duty rubberized chalks. These chalks have better traction and they won't crack under pressure like the plastic ones will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick one in the back tire and one in the front tire. That way it can't roll back and it can't roll forward. Done and done. Okay, and the next thing on the list is to remove the sway bars, which is basically my weight distribution sway bars. So let's go over there and I'll show you that. All right, so on this trailer, when I purchased it, it came with the Husky centerline weight distribution hitch. So these are the sway bars, but I always understood them to be the weight distribution bars. I believe that these are designed to actually distribute the weight equally throughout the rig, but this particular list says sway bars. So in any event, I'm going to remove the bars. Pull pin. I made a mistake. So in order to remove the sway bars, or the weight distribution bars, I need to drop the tongue jack and it will take the pressure off of the bars. Now I like to use these blocks of wood. It takes away from the amount of travel that I have to do front jack. As I raise the tongue, the tension comes off the bars. The weight distribution came with this pry bar. See, with the weight taken off, makes it a little bit easier to take these off. So in order to take these bars off, there's this pin right here. There's these pins right here which hold the bar in place. Simply enough. Now, with the sway bars removed, I can now retract the front jack, putting the weight back on the hitch of the truck. Whew. It is certainly humid here in South Carolina. Whew. 90 degrees and humid. Whew. So, with the sway bars removed and the weight back on the hitch of the truck, the next step is remove chains. Simply enough, unhitch, unhook the chains, remove the breakaway cable, which is this little springy thing right here. Wow, wow, wow. All right, the next one is remove the electric from the truck. I need to remove the front tongue of the trailer from the ball hitch of the truck. And in order to do that, I have to remove this pin and pull this release back. That will allow the tongue to come off the ball hitch. Follow me? But that is one step that I found on this list to be missing. Otherwise, moving the truck is kind of ridiculous. Now what it does say is raise the power jack above the truck hitch and place blocks underneath. Well, that's what I got. I got the blocks there, and I'm going to raise the hitch. So in between that, it didn't tell me to remove this pin. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to do that. All right, so anyway, I'm now going to raise the tongue of the trailer. Whoa! 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 Alright, I've seen that happen before. Sometimes the ball sticks. Another important reason to chock your wheels, because when it unhooks like that, the whole trailer rocks. If there was no chocks in the wheel, that rocking would make it roll, potentially roll away. And we don't want that to happen. So another importance for chocking the wheels right away. Alright, but in any event, we are now disconnected from the ball, and I can move the truck forward. And as the steps say, move the truck forward. The truck is now cleared from the hitch. The next step on the list is level front to back. And in order to do that, I need to lower the tongue of the trailer. And how do you know if it's level? We go back to, it's a little bit more difficult to do by yourself. I like to lay the level right here inside the doorway, and just a matter of getting the bubble where it needs to be. It's helpful to have an assistant tell you when it's done, but when you're on your own, you just run back and forth. Ho-ho! Maybe a hair more, but it's pretty level. I pretty much just guesstimate based on the front when it looks like it's level, and then I just come back and check. And I'm pretty close. But I'm going to drop it just a hair, come back and double check, and we should be good to go. The bubble is between the lines. We are level front to back. Okay, so there you have it. That is the steps for unhitching. But that's only the first part of getting your trailer ready to camp. The next set of instructions is hookup. Now, again, this has to be altered because the first step on this list, and again, I found this on the internet, and I'm following it because it's got really good steps, and it will save me or anybody else following these steps a lot of grief and possible accidents. But following these steps, hook up, turn on propane. Well, I turned on the propane at home before we left the house. In fact, I did it the night before because I wanted my refrigerator to be cold. So in the morning when we left, we could load it up with groceries. So a lot of controversy about traveling with the propane on. I choose to drive with my propane tanks running, keeping my refrigerator cool the entire trip. We drove for 5 hours today in blistering hot heat, and I did not want to take a chance with my refrigerator not keeping my food cold and my freezer frozen. So, first step, turn on your propane. Check. Already done, been done for the last few hours. Second step, water hose and filter. So now I'm going to get my water hose and hook it up, which is on the other side of the trailer. So come on, let's go over there. Okay, so at this campground, we were fortunate enough to actually have a splitter. So one will go to my freshwater intake to the trailer, and the other one could be used for a hose for rinsing things off, and maybe the dogs or yourself after going to the beach. Now we actually have an outdoor hose connection for our trailer, so we don't necessarily need a splitter, but in this particular case we do have a splitter available to us. But for today and this campground, I'm going to connect my hose to this side. Fasten that down nice and tight, but I'm not going to turn the water on yet. Now at the other end of our trailer where we connect our water, everything's on the inside of this panel, so it's protected and out of the elements. I have a water filter hooked up to this flexible tube connected to our intake. I have, because we're on a campground and we have endless water, city water turned on. If I was dry camping or boondocking, I would fill up my freshwater tanks and put it on a fresh tank, and then the water pump would run it through the faucets and everything. But since we're at a campground, it's going to be city water, and this goes through a hole down through the bottom, and the other end of the hose gets connected just like that. The other thing you want to make sure is, I'd already connected this, but when it's in storage, I disconnect my battery. This is the battery disconnect. And then of course when we were loading up the trailer, I connected the battery back up so we'd have lights inside. But at the campground, this would be the other thing inside this panel you'd want to do. You put this in, turn it to lock it in place. Now the battery's connected to the trailer, and anything running off the battery will be running off the battery. So now I'm gonna go turn on the water, and we should have water in the trailer. All right, I feel the pressurization. Make sure there's no kinks in your hose. And now we have water. Next on the list, the next step is to hook up the sewage. The infamous black tank. Booyah! And before I do that, I pull out a pair of rubber gloves. Because nobody likes to touch the stinky. Ready for surgery. I have a little of this microban. Keeps killing 99.9% of bacteria for 24 hours. I usually spray that around over here just to make sure everything is a little disinfected. More so afterwards. Place. Stretch it out. Like that, and like that, and I'm gonna call that good. Whew. All right. Next on the list, connect shore power. Basically, connect the electricity. What it doesn't mention on there though is a surge protector. Get yourself, invest in a surge protector. It could potentially save the inner electronics of your trailer. It's very easy. This plugs into this plugs into this, and into your trailer. In the event of a power surge or electricity, lightning, whatever, you're not going to fry your trailer. everything's set up. Let's go inside and make sure everything's working. Lights. Batteries are full. AC kicked on. We have shore power. Did I mention it was hot and humid? Okay. Whew. All right, but we're not done yet. Now that the electric's hooked up, the final step, stabilizers. If you noticed in my last video, I dropped the stabilizers way early in this list and it messed up the whole thing. Stabilizers should be the last thing on your list of things to do. I'm going to show you one, but you repeat it 4 times on all 4 corners. Stabilizers are not for lifting the trailer, they're just to pick up the slack so it doesn't rock and roll. Like right now, the trailer is unsteady. It's level, but it's unsteady. You can feel everything. I'm going to go drop the stabilizers and that should fix that. And then, the only thing left to do is to camp. Have fun. Enjoy the weekend. Oh, did I mention it's Memorial Day? So let's go drop those stabilizers. I have manual stabilizers. The trailer came with a hand crank to lower these stabilizers. A handy little tip. Get yourself one of these stabilizer sockets and get yourself a cheap, I use mine from home, electric drill. Makes lowering these things that much simpler. I also try to use some type of tough pad so the stabilizer's not digging into dirt, mud, or concrete, cracking and destroying or potentially sinking into the earth and throwing the stabilization off the trailer while you're camping. So get yourself some of these, put them underneath. That's all you have to do. Drop it down, and you're good to go. I'm going to do the other 3, but that's the gist of it. Final thing, this is the last thing you should do. Learn from my mistakes. The list that I have, it's not perfect, but I tell you what, following these steps, even with a small additive here and there to the list, it's going to save you. It definitely is saving me a lot of mistakes being made. Alright? So do yourself a favor, make a list, follow it, check it once, check it twice, make sure you're doing it right, and you won't make mistakes like I did. Go figure. Alright, well I'm going to go finish setting this up and enjoy my weekend. Thanks for watching, and talk to you later.